Hello all. Very glad to be here today and excited to be able to tell about RugVista. I think we represent a quite attractive investment opportunity, so we've been looking forward to coming here today and tell you more about us. My plan today is to give you a quick introduction of who I am and who RugVista is, and then I'll deep dive into our investment case or company highlights. And then if time allows, I'll answer any question that may be. But let's start with a quick rundown of myself. I joined RugVista as a CFO in May of this year. And prior to joining RugVista, I've been working within corporate finance as a competitor to Västra Hamnen in Nordea in Copenhagen. I've also done management consulting with Boston Consulting Group. And I have had hands-on operational experience from the corporate world, having worked with, for example, IC Group, which was a listed Danish conglomerate owning a number of premium clothing brands, for example, Peak Performance and Tiger of Sweden here in Sweden. But enough about me and about the company. So RugVista was founded in 2005 here in Malmö, and selling carpets online. And today we're one of the leading direct-to-consumer online rug stores in Europe. And we sell to and offer local language customer service to approximately 20 countries in Europe. We were listed on Nasdaq First North Premier Growth in March of this year. And our market cap as we speak is approximately 2.6 billion SEK. We operate through three segments, B2C, which is our largest, constituting approximately 90% of our revenue. Then we have B2B, where we target, for example, interior designers and hotels. And then we have our third segment, which is marketplaces and other, which today is focused on selling through the Amazon platform. So with the basics in place, let's dive into the investment case, and there are four highlights I would like to go through with you today. And the first one is that we operate in an attractive market, which is transitioning from offline to online, and we offer a product which is well suited for online distribution. The second point I would like to make is that we believe we are in a prime position to become the category killer of the rug category. We want to be the Zalando of the rug vertical. And we believe we can become this due to our deep in-house industry expertise and our exclusive assortment. Thirdly, we have a very clear vision and strategy for how to get there. And fourthly, we have a pretty good starting point with a track record of high and profitable growth. So I'll go through each of the highlights in turn and substantiate to you why we believe they hold true. So let's start with the market. And as you can see on the left-hand side, we address a European rug market worth approximately 200 billion annually. And an estimated 16% of that was online, meaning that the online rug market was worth around 30 billion SEK. On the right-hand side, you can see that the online market was forecasted to grow approximately 11% per year. It should be noted, though, that these estimates were made in connection with our listing process and are thus pre-pandemic. And from what we see in our data and what we hear from other e-commerces, the online penetration has most likely leapfrogged a couple of years. So best guess would be that online penetration is around 20% today. And thus the online market obviously is closer to 40 billion today. But notwithstanding, the key message here is that we are addressing a large market and with strong underlying growth from the offline to online transition. And who we are up against is a quite fragmented competitive landscape, which today is dominated primarily by traditional, somewhat old school retailers, such as your local mom-and-pop rug store with a quite limited assortment and scale. And then you have your home interior chains, such as Jysk, IKEA, and Mio, which are very much focused around offline distribution and where rugs as a category constitutes a quite small part of their total offering. And then you have the new kids on the block, which are the online players, And there are two categories. You have the online-based warehouses or marketplaces such as Amazon and Alibaba. To them, Europe and rugs in particular is quite low priority. And then you have the online-based rug retailers, where we today only have one other larger pan-European reference, which is a German company named Benuta. And the rest is local smaller players in each individual market where we operate. What is also attractive about this vertical is the product, as it has some attractive characteristics. First of all, starting on the left-hand side, there are basically no power brands within the rug vertical. I would be surprised if you know of one well-known rug brand, and even more surprised if the person sitting next to you knew that same brand. And that means two things. That means we have a fairly high degree of pricing power, and it also means that we have the opportunity to ourselves establish a rug brand within this space. The second attractive part about rugs is that it is surprisingly well suited for online distribution. We have high average order values and attractive unit economics. Rugs have a long product life cycle. They seldom go out of fashion, which also means that we have a limited inventory risk. And lastly, also worth mentioning is the return rates. We operate with return rates around 15 to 16%. And that compares to, for example, fashion, where they operate with return rates around 50%. So why do we believe that we can become the Zalando of the rug vertical? The first thing to know about us is that we are obsessed with delivering outstanding end-to-end customer service. And our customer satisfaction ratings are a pretty good testament to that. So on the left-hand side, you can see our Net Promoter Score, which as of Q3 this year stood at 66. And that is on par with global, well-known, well-liked brands such as Apple and Netflix. On the right-hand side, you can see a selection of customer testimonials, but most importantly, our Trustpilot rating, which is at 4.8 as we speak, and that's based on nearly 90,000 customer reviews. And this is something we are truly proud about and something we monitor very closely on an ongoing basis. Because we know, as most of you also probably know, that high customer satisfaction is a pretty good predictor for future success of a company. A good part of the reason why customers like RugVista is due to our products and our assortment. We offer approximately 30,000 different rugs on our site, and we price them at a high value for money proposition. We offer two kinds of rugs: design rugs, which are either handmade or machine-made, and where you have multiple, more or less identical items of the same SKU. And then you have the traditional, also known as Oriental rugs, which are one of the kind for each SKU. Also worth mentioning around our assortment is that we are one of, if not the player in Europe, that has the broadest and deepest assortment across both product types. Most other references tend to focus on one or the other. Now, to source the best products at the right prices and to deliver a world-class customer service, we do all core operational tasks in-house here in Malmö. We do most of the designs ourselves. We do all sourcing ourselves and have long-standing relationships to our suppliers in India, Turkey, and Europe. We know what good looks like and what it should cost. And we also have the scale to get the products at attractive prices. We also do fulfillment and customer service here in Malmö. And that means that we fully own the relationship to the customers and can incorporate any feedback we get instantaneously, and that we have the highest focus on customer satisfaction throughout everything we do, including how we handle and ship our products. Now, how do we intend to become the Zalando of the rug vertical? We have 4 strategic priorities. And if we start on the left-hand side, then the first one is around penetrating our core markets further. And we'll do that by enhancing localization. And that is basically around understanding and thus serving the customers exactly how they prefer in each individual market, from the assortment on offer to the payment methods you can choose between and the delivery options. The second thing is around building a well-known and well-liked brand. And as I mentioned before, there is a white spot for us there where we can create that connection to the customers. And basically where we want to get to is that when you think of rugs, you should think of RugVista. Now, the second strategic priority is around showcasing our assortment. And to that end, we need to improve how we visually merchandise our goods and do storytelling on our site. We need to improve the functionality and design of our website. And basically what this is about is making sure that customers, when they go to our site, can get inspired and easily find the rug that they're looking for. The third strategic priority is around completing our good to great journey. And that's very much around constantly monitoring, tracking how we're performing, and adjusting processes, optimizing processes accordingly. The second thing is around getting more granular commercial steering, which will also help us in driving localization. The fourth strategic priority is around capturing the Amazon opportunity. And what we're doing there is firstly to scale an Amazon-specific assortment. So the typical Amazon consumer tends to prefer machine-made design rugs and often at lower price points compared to the assortment we offer on our own site. The second thing we want to do in regards to Amazon is secure Prime eligibility. And that is in order to capture the high-value customers with Amazon, which are the Prime customers. Now, in addition to a business strategy, we also have a sustainability strategy, and we want to lead the industry towards a more sustainable future. And to that end, we have called our sustainability strategy Lead.Change. And we have 3 focus areas we're working with. That's planet, people, and business. And we have identified change levers through which we believe we can impact the industry, those being, for example, our team, our customers, and our business partners. And to give a concrete example of how we work with this, we already today audit all our suppliers through third-party auditors, where they review, for example, working conditions, safety, and environmental impact. In addition to that, we also have our own team working directly with the suppliers on sustainability matters. And we recently staffed up with a sustainability manager with a long history within sustainability, coming from, for example, H&M's sustainability department. And what is our starting point for executing on this journey? Well, from a financial point of view, RugVista has grown by at least 20% for the last decade and even more. And that has continued in recent years. So last 3 years, we have grown by 24% on average. Year to date, we have grown by 45% compared to same period last year. In parallel, the company has significantly improved its profitability, having increased our gross margins from 56% in 2018 to 64% as of Q3 year to date. And as a consequence of the inherent leverage effect of our business model with relatively high gross margins, we have managed to, also through controlling our fixed cost base, to more than triple our operating margin, so that today it is at 20%, whereas in 2018 it was at 6%. Now, a quick view on cash flow and a bit of balance sheet. We have an asset-light business model, which means that our investment requirements are quite low. You can see that on the left-hand side with the black stacked bars. And as we have a fairly high operating profitability, that means that we tend to generate quite healthy cash flows. And as you can see on the right-hand side, that results in a quite strong balance sheet. So, for example, we have managed to turn net debt of approximately 80 million in 2018 into net cash of 120 million as of Q3 this year. Now, looking ahead, we believe we can continue to grow at a high pace and with a good level of profitability. And thus, the board has set medium to long-term targets, which are as follows. We target to grow organically approximately 20% per year. We target to maintain an EBIT margin of at least 15%. And last but not least, we target to invest in growing the business, but in addition to that, pay out up to 50% of annual net profits to our shareholders. Now that concludes the company highlights. So I'll just quickly recap what they are. So first of all, we operate in a very attractive market, which is growing due to the offline to online transition and with fragmented competition. We have a product with no brand names and which is very well suited for online distribution. Secondly, we believe we are in a prime position to own this space and become the Zalando of the rug vertical due to our deep in-house industry expertise and our strong assortment. And thirdly, we have a very clear vision and plan for how to get there. And fourthly, we have the financial track record and financial standing today, enabling us to fully focus on investing in and growing the business. So that's it for me.
Thanks, Henrik, for another great presentation. Of course, you must have felt some of the effects of the pandemic, perhaps in a positive way, as most online retailers have. Can you say a little bit about what you plan for going forward? I know that Q4 of last year was slightly stronger than you anticipated. Do you foresee that repeating this year, or are you planning for business as usual this year?
Yeah, there are two aspects to it, right? There's the impact on our supply chain, where we, like many other players, have felt the consequences of COVID. We have experienced longer and more unpredictable lead times. And we are also starting to see, especially in India, where we use sea transportation the most, and as our suppliers are paying for the inbound freight, that they are starting to demand higher prices as a consequence of the high freight rates. But in regards to that, due to our pricing power, we do have the ability of passing on at least some of it to our consumers. So that's all of the supply chain side of things. Then on a commercial side of things, Q4 last year was quite unusual. And what was mostly unusual about Q4 last year was December. So normally between Christmas and New Year's, customer activity decreases quite a lot as people spend time with their families instead of looking at rugs. But that trend we did not see last year. So sales basically continued at the same pace as it had in the first part of December. Whether we can expect that this year, who knows? Now we have a new variant in play. It's not something we hope will happen, but let's see. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that you cannot really guide on something like that.
No.
Obviously, Europe is your home market, and there seems to be a lot more to do on your home market. You mentioned that there might be something like 30 to 40 billion of a market to go after, and you currently only have close to 2% of that, perhaps. Reaching your target of having a 15 to 20% market share in Europe, would that be done through organic growth, or would that require some acquisitions?
Just to be clear, we have not set a target for market share. We have set a target for organic growth, which is 20% annually.
Thank you.
But no, I mean, we have a strong balance sheet. We have 120 million in net cash, and somehow I would expect our shareholders to think that we could deploy it wisely and generate a healthy return on that. But we don't have a distinct M&A strategy. I mean, we are open if exciting opportunities arise. But what is very important for us is that there is a very strong strategic fit with what we do. We're not just going to go on a spending spree just to spend the money. That is very important.
Would it be possible that you consider going outside of rugs and add additional categories of products that are close to rugs, so to say, within home decoration?
Not in the immediate future. As you mentioned, we don't even have 2% market share today, and there is plenty of room to grow with the products we have today. So no, that's not part of our strategy. And I would say again, a core thing for us in terms of strategy is focus. It's being able to focus on where exactly do we want to play. You know, it's by decision that we're not playing in Asia or Africa or the States, for example. We want to focus on Europe and be world class in what we do there first of all, and then when we've done then let's look at where to play next. But that also goes for products. There needs to be a very strong strategic fit and stay true to what we are good at, and that is rugs. Then within rugs, let me just add, you know, there's always the opportunity of adding subcategories. You know, today we don't offer wall-to-wall rugs, so that could be one option worth looking into at some point.
You mentioned that you can quite easily ship your products to your European markets, and I know that you have ample room to store more rugs here in Malmö and Limhamn, but would you see at a point where you need to establish hubs in other European countries perhaps to ship more effectively?
Yeah, very good question. It is something we're looking into, how our fulfillment footprint should look like in the longer term. And there are many benefits from also having, you know, a presence in continental Europe. Most of the inbound arrives in continental Europe, so we also get shorter lead times going in. And obviously, it'll be quicker and cheaper to service customers in one of our core regions, which is core focus regions, which is DACH. So it is something we are considering. Yeah.
And I think you mentioned that you don't have much inventory risk, as there perhaps isn't as much trends in carpets as within fashion or something like that. But I know that you base your inventory target on your 12-month rolling sales, and you try to stay on a 20%-ish number. Yeah. Of course, the previous 12 months have been positively perhaps impacted by the pandemic. Do you see a risk that you might have too high inventories going into the winter season?
Not really. I think we've also improved in buying the right stuff that we know sells well, and not having stuff on the shelves which moves slower. So and with our internal ambition and targets, don't see a really big risk for that. No.
Great. I don't think I have any further questions. It's just a pleasure to have a local company like RugVista or CarpetVista visiting us today. It's probably quite unknown to many out there before the IPO, and it was probably quite unknown to even a lot of people in Malmö, but you changed that through the IPO. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Henrik.